An old man sits in a clay shop in Jerusalem. The year is around 520 BC. His hands shake when he writes. He has been writing on this scroll for a long time now, and he does not always understand what he is writing. He only knows that the words come to him and he must put them down. Today, he writes a number, just one number, 30, and he writes the name of a place, a small piece of ground at the edge of the city where the potters throw their broken jars. He calls it the potter's field. He has walked past it 100 times. He has never seen anything happen there. He does not know why he has been told to write its name down. He finishes the line. He sets down the reed. He goes home to die. 500 years pass. Babylon falls. Persia rises. Alexander the Great conquers the world before he turns 33 and dies of a fever. The Greeks fade. Rome rises. Caesar crosses a small river called the Rubicon. Caesar is murdered. An emperor named Augustus orders a census. A baby is born in a stable in Bethlehem. And on a Thursday evening in the year 33, that baby, now a grown man, sits down for dinner in a borrowed upper room with 12 close friends. One of those friends has 30 pieces of silver hidden in his cloak. Stay with me, because what you're about to see is not a story. It is a countdown. For the next 24 hours, ancient scrolls, some of them written 1,000 years before this man was born, are going to come true one after another. Some of them in the same room he is sitting in right now. Some of them on a hill outside the city. Some of them inside the temple he can see from the window. 43 of them in total. In one day, in one man. This is not a story about a trial. This is not a story about an execution. This is not a story about religious politics in a forgotten Roman province on the eastern edge of an empire that does not yet realize it is dying. This is a story about the most prophesied 24 hours in human history. And it begins right now, with the bread on the table, with the wine in the cup, with a man named Judas, son of Simon, from a village called Kerioth, the only one of the 12 who is not from Galilee, reaching for a piece of unleavened bread that the man across from him is about to hand him personally. 1,000 years before this moment, a Hebrew king named David sat on a hillside outside Jerusalem and wrote a sentence into a song that has been sung in synagogues ever since. He wrote, "Even my close friend, the one who shared my bread, has turned against me." David did not know what he was writing. He only knew that the words came. Watch what happens next. The room is small, maybe 20 feet across, stone walls, a low table on cushions, oil lamps burning. Outside the window, you can hear the Passover crowds in the streets, pilgrims from every corner of the empire, lambs being slaughtered in the temple, smoke rising in thick gray columns over the city. Inside the room, 13 men are eating. 12 of them have no idea what is about to happen. The 13th is the man at the head of the table, and he knows everything. He has known since before he was born. He has known since before there was a Jerusalem. He has known since before there were stars. He picks up a piece of unleavened bread. He breaks it. He dips it in a bowl of bitter herbs and wine. And he hands it across the table to the only one of the 12 who is not from Galilee, the treasurer, the man who carries the money bag, a young man named Judas. In the ancient Near East, you do not share bread with someone you do not trust. To share bread is to make a covenant. It says, "My house is your house. My life is bound to yours. I would die for you, and you for me." For 3 years, Jesus has shared bread with this man. Every meal, every campfire, every loaf of barley bread on every hillside in Galilee. And 1,000 years before this moment, on a hillside outside Jerusalem, a Hebrew king named David sat down to write a song about his own betrayal. His son Absalom had turned against him. David picked up a reed and wrote, "Even my close friend, someone I trusted, one who shared my bread, has lifted up his heel against me." David did not know he was writing about a Thursday evening 1 millennium in his future. But the man holding the bread knew. Here's what most people miss. Judas had already made the deal. It had happened earlier in the week. He had walked into the temple courts, found the chief priests, and asked them a question that has echoed for 2,000 years. "What will you give me if I deliver him to you?" He did not ask for 100. He did not ask for 50. He did not even ask for the going rate of a slave. He asked for 30. The priest counted out 30 silver coins. They placed them in his palm. He walked out of the temple with the price of a gorged slave in his cloak. That was the value Exodus chapter 21 assigned to a slave killed by someone else's ox. 30 pieces. 500 years before this moment, the old man in the clay shop had written that number down. He had also written what would happen to the silver. He wrote that the silver would be thrown back, that it would be picked up by the priests, that the priests would buy the potter's field with it. We will come back to that field, but not yet. Right now, the meal is ending. Jesus stands. He looks at the 11 who do not know what is coming, and he says one sentence that has been quoted in churches for 2,000 years. "One of you will betray me." Judas leaves the room. The door closes behind him, and this is where it gets stranger. They walk down to a garden across the Kidron Valley, olive trees, a press for crushing the olives. In Hebrew, Gat Shemin, which is where we get the name Gethsemane, the press of olives, the place where things are crushed until what is inside them comes out. Jesus prays. The disciples sleep. And then he says something out loud that none of them understand until later. He quotes a prophet named Zechariah, the same old man in the clay shop from 500 years before. Zechariah had written one line in chapter 13, "Strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered." Jesus quotes it word for word. And then, within the hour, it happens. Torches in the trees, soldiers, temple guards, Judas walking at the front, leaning in, kissing him on the cheek, Peter drawing a sword and slicing off the ear of a servant. And then, every disciple, every one of them without exception, running. The shepherd was struck, the sheep scattered. They had been warned by Jesus in the garden, by Zechariah 500 years earlier, and not one of them remembered. Pause with me for 1 second. We are 3 prophecies in. 3. And we have not even reached dawn on Friday yet. The bread, the silver, the scattering. 3 lines from 3 different scrolls, written by 3 different men, separated by 500 years. And all 3 of them came true in the span of about 6 hours, in one upper room and one olive grove on the east side of Jerusalem. There are 40 more coming. If this is hitting you the way it is hitting me right now, do me one favor before we keep going. Hit the subscribe button. I make videos like this every week, walking slowly through the parts of scripture most people skim past. The parts where the deeper you look, the more impossible the math becomes. And stick around, because what is coming in the next 15 minutes is not just more prophecies. It is the moment the pattern starts to accelerate. It is the moment the math gets so heavy that by the end of this video, You're going to be sitting with a number that the universe itself is not big enough to hold. Stay with me. Here's what happens next. It is now somewhere around 2 a.m. on Friday. Jesus has been awake for nearly 20 hours. He has been bound. He has been dragged across the Kidron Valley in the dark, his sandals slipping on stones still wet from the night dew. He has been brought into the palace of a man named Annas, the retired high priest, and from there to the palace of Caiaphas, the high priest sitting now. Caiaphas, son-in-law to Annas, the man whose bone box was dug up in a Jerusalem suburb in 1990 with his name carved into the limestone. He was real. He stood in a real room. And in that real room, in the middle of the night, an illegal trial began. Witnesses were brought in. They contradicted each other. Caiaphas grew frustrated. He stood up. He demanded an answer. And here is what most people miss. Jesus said nothing. For hour after hour, through accusation after accusation, false witness after false witness, he stood there and did not open his mouth. 700 years before this moment, a prophet named Isaiah had sat down with a reed in his hand and written one line. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter, and like a sheep before its shearers is silent, so he did not open his mouth. Isaiah was writing about a moment he could not have imagined. The Roman Empire did not yet exist. Crucifixion did not yet exist. Isaiah only knew that the words came, and he had to write them down. In a stone room in Jerusalem, 7 centuries later, a man stood in front of his accusers and said nothing, exactly the way Isaiah had described. But it gets stranger. They began to beat him. The high priest's guards struck him in the face. They pulled the beard from his cheeks, which, in the ancient Near East, was the deepest possible insult a man could endure. They spit on him. They blindfolded him and demanded that he prophesy who had hit him. 700 years earlier, in the same scroll, Isaiah had written, "I offered my back to those who beat me. I offered my cheeks to those who pulled out my beard. I did not hide my face from mocking and spitting." Every detail, the back, the cheeks, the beard, the spitting, written 7 centuries before it happened. By sunrise, he had been brought to a Roman prefect named Pontius Pilate. Pilate's name is also confirmed by archaeology. A stone slab discovered in 1961 in the Roman amphitheater at Caesarea Maritima, carved with the words Pontius Pilatus, prefect of Judea. He too was real. He too stood in a real room. Pilate did not want to kill this man. He could see no crime. His own wife had sent him a message that morning. "A dream," she said, "have nothing to do with this innocent man." Pilate tried to release him. The crowd refused. He tried to send him to Herod. Herod sent him back. He tried to wash his hands. The water did not help. Even the Roman historian Tacitus would later record the moment plainly. Christus, from whom the name Christian had its origin, suffered the extreme penalty during the reign of Tiberius at the hands of one of our procurators, Pontius Pilatus. This is not legend. This is not myth. This is a Roman historian, no friend of Christianity, recording it as straightforward imperial history. Pilate handed him over to be flogged. The Roman flogging, the flagrum, was a leather whip, braided with sharp bones and pieces of metal. It did not bruise. It tore. Many men died from the flogging alone. Jesus did not. They put a purple robe on him. They pressed a crown of thorns into his scalp. They mocked him as a king. And then they made him carry the crossbeam through the streets of Jerusalem to a hill outside the city walls called Golgotha. he collapsed. The crossbeam was too heavy. His body was too broken. He could not stand. And here the story does something unexpected. A man in the crowd is grabbed by the soldiers, yanked out, pressed into service, forced to carry the cross of a man he has never met. His name is Simon. He is from Cyrene, modern-day Libya in North Africa. He is a Jewish pilgrim who has traveled hundreds of miles to be in Jerusalem for Passover. He did not come here for this. Mark, writing his gospel 30 years later, mentions a detail that has no business being there. He names Simon's sons, Alexander and Rufus. He does not explain who they are. He does not need to. His readers in Rome know exactly who they are. Alexander and Rufus are members of the early church. Simon, the African Jew yanked off the road on a Friday morning, went home and told his family what he had carried. And his family believed. There is one prophecy here that I have to slow down for. In the year 1000 BC, on a hillside somewhere outside Jerusalem, King David sat down and wrote a song that we now call Psalm 22. He was writing about his own suffering. He was running from his enemies. He was in pain. He picked up a reed and wrote a line that no one in his time could have understood. They have pierced my hands and my feet. Pay attention to this. In 1000 BC, crucifixion did not exist. It would not exist for another 500 years. It was invented by the Persians around the year 500 BC and perfected by the Romans by the year 100 BC. David could not have known what crucifixion was. There was no method of execution in his world that pierced a man's hands and feet. The Hebrew word he used, tela, meant to hang on a tree. Deuteronomy chapter 21 said that anyone hung on a tree was cursed by God. David wrote a sentence describing a death he could not have imagined, using a word that would not become a Roman execution method for another 9 centuries. And 1,000 years later, at the top of a hill called Golgotha, 4 Roman soldiers laid a Galilean carpenter on his back, stretched out his arms, and drove iron spikes through his palms and through his feet into wood. The scroll was opening 1 page at a time, and the day was not even half over. It is 9 in the morning on Friday. 3 crosses are raised on the hill called Golgotha, the place of the skull. The 2 on either side hold criminals. The one in the middle holds Jesus of Nazareth. The Roman soldiers settle in for a long shift. Crucifixion takes hours, sometimes days. They sit at the foot of the cross and divide up the prisoners' clothes among themselves. 4 soldiers, 5 pieces of clothing. The tunic, the inner garment, is seamless, woven in 1 piece from top to bottom. To tear it would ruin it, so they roll dice. The Hebrew word is goro, to cast lots, to gamble. 1,000 years before this moment, King David, sitting on a hillside in the same Psalm 22, had picked up a reed and written 1 line. They divide my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. He had no idea who the soldiers would be. He had no idea what game they would play. He had no idea that 10 centuries in the future, 4 Roman men in iron helmets would sit beneath a wooden cross and gamble for a tunic that did not yet exist, made by a mother who had not yet been born. He only knew that the words came, and as the soldiers rolled the dice, the crowd at the base of the cross began to shout. This is the part that should stop you cold. The crowd was made up of Jewish pilgrims. Most of them knew the Psalms by heart. Psalm 22 was sung in the temple. They would have recognized it the second they heard it. And what came out of their mouths was almost the exact wording of verses 7 and 8 of that very psalm. David had written, "All who see me mock me. They hurl insults, shaking their heads. He trusts in the Lord," they say. "Let the Lord rescue him." And the crowd, 1,000 years later, shouted up at the cross, "He saved others. Let him save himself if he is the Messiah of God." He trusts in God. Let God rescue him now if he wants him. Almost word for word. They were quoting the very scripture that was condemning them, and they did not know it. By noon, the sky turned dark. By 3 in the afternoon, after 6 hours on the cross, Jesus spoke for one of the last times. He said one sentence in Aramaic, "Eloi, Eloi, lima sabachthani." It means, my God, why have you forsaken me?" It is the opening line of Psalm 22, the same psalm that described the cross, the same psalm that described the gambled clothes, the same psalm that described the mocking crowd. He was not in despair. He was pointing to the scroll. He was telling everyone within earshot, look at the psalm. Look at what is being written right now in front of you. Read the page. And then he said, tetelestai. It is finished. In Greek, tetelestai was not a word of defeat. It was a marketplace word, a business word. It was stamped on the bottom of a receipt when a debt had been paid. It meant paid in full. He said it, and he died. Here is what most people miss. A few hours later, soldiers came to speed up the deaths of the 3 crucified men. The Sabbath was approaching at sundown. The bodies could not remain on crosses overnight, so they broke the legs of the 2 criminals, which collapsed the lungs and ended the agony in minutes. They came to Jesus. They lifted their hammers, and they stopped. He was already dead. So instead, they took a spear and pierced his side. 1,500 years earlier, in the book of Exodus, God had given Moses instructions for the Passover lamb, the lamb that would be slaughtered each year, every year, for every generation, the lamb whose blood would mark the doorposts of Israel. The instruction was very specific. You shall not break any of its bones. The Roman soldiers, who had never read Exodus, who had never heard of the Passover lamb, fulfilled the instruction by accident. And 500 years before this Friday, the prophet Zechariah had written one more line. They will look on the one they have pierced. He had no idea what he was describing. The soldiers did. Now, let me take you back to one piece of this story we left hanging at the beginning, the 30 pieces of silver. By the time Jesus died, Judas was already dead. Hours before the crucifixion, Judas had come to his senses. He had walked back to the temple. He had taken the 30 silver coins out of his cloak and thrown them onto the temple floor. He confessed. He said, "I have betrayed innocent blood." The priest did not care. Judas walked out, and within hours, he was hanging from a tree somewhere outside the city. The priests had a problem. They could not return the silver to the temple treasury. It was now blood money forbidden by the law. They had to dispose of it. They held a council. They made a decision. They bought a small piece of ground at the edge of the city, a field of broken pottery and clay shards, a place where the potters threw away their failures. They bought the potter's field. They paid 30 pieces of silver for it, and they began to use it as a burial ground for foreigners. 500 years earlier, in a clay shop in Jerusalem, an old man with shaking hands had written down 2 things he did not understand: a number and a place. The number was 30. The place was the potter's field. And on a Friday afternoon in the year of 33, the priests of Israel, without ever opening Zechariah's scroll, bought the potter's field for 30 pieces of silver. Stay with me, because we're about to do the math. 43 prophecies, not 3, not 8, not 20, 43 in one day, in one man. In 1944, an American mathematician named Peter Stoner sat down to calculate the probability of just 8 of these prophecies being fulfilled accidentally by one man across history. He used the most conservative estimates. He published his results in a book called Science Speaks. The number he reached was 1 in 10 to the 17th power, 1 in 100 quadrillion. Stoner gave an analogy: cover the entire state of Texas in silver dollars, 2 feet deep. Mark one silver dollar with red ink. Mix them all up. Now blindfold a man. Tell him to walk anywhere he wants in the state of Texas. Tell him to bend down and pick up one coin. The chance he picks the red one is the chance one man could fulfill just 8 prophecies by accident. 8. Jesus fulfilled 43 in 24 hours. The math on that is 1 in 10 to the 157th power. The known universe contains an estimated 10 to the 80th power atoms. Read that again. The number of atoms in the entire universe is not large enough to express the odds of one man accidentally fulfilling 43 prophecies in one day. You would need another universe, and another after that, and another after that, and you would still not have enough atoms to count the impossibility. This is not coincidence. This is signature. And then, Sunday morning, before dawn, while the city is still asleep, while the disciples are still hiding in locked rooms, while the priests are congratulating themselves on a job well done, the stone moves. 1,000 years before this moment, King David, yes, the same David, the same psalm writer, had picked up his reed one more time and written something he did not understand. You will not abandon me to the realm of the dead. You will not let your faithful one see decay. David died. His tomb was in Jerusalem. Everyone in the city knew exactly where it was. His bones were still in it. David had not been writing about himself. When the Apostle Peter stood up at Pentecost in front of a crowd of thousands of Jewish pilgrims, this is the verse he quoted. He pointed at David's tomb, visible from where he was standing, and said, in effect, David is still in there. So who was he writing about? And then Peter pointed to an empty tomb on the other side of the city. The scroll had finished opening, every page, every line, every word, paid in full. So what do we do with this? 3 things to leave you with, just 3. And the last one is the one I want you to sit with the longest. First, this. 43 specific prophecies were fulfilled in 24 hours. Some of them written 1,000 years before the man who fulfilled them was born. None of them by accident. None of them by coincidence. The mathematical probability is so small that the universe itself does not contain enough atoms to express it. This is not theology. This is arithmetic. Second, this. The cross was not plan B. The cross was not improvisation. The cross was not God reacting in panic to a crisis on a hill outside Jerusalem on a Friday afternoon. The cross was the most carefully written event in human history. The scrolls were copied in synagogues for 1,000 years. The Psalms were sung in the temple for 1,000 years. The prophets were read out loud in towns from Babylon to Alexandria for 1,000 years. And on a Thursday evening in the year 33, the pages began to turn. And you were the reason they had to turn. Third, and this is the one I want you to carry home with you. When Jesus said tetelestai from the cross, he was not announcing his defeat. He was not even announcing his death. He was reaching for a marketplace word that every Greek-speaking person in the Roman Empire would have recognized. A word stamped on the bottom of a receipt when a debt had been settled. Paid in full. Every prophecy, every scroll, every psalm, every page stretching back 1,000 years, and every debt you have ever owed. Stamped, sealed, closed, paid in full. Now I have a question for you, and I want you to answer it in the comments. Of all the prophecies in this video, the bread, the silver, the silence, the spear, the gambled clothes, the pierced hands, which one hit you the hardest? Which one stopped you and made you sit back? Tell me below. I read every comment. And one last thing, you are not reading a story, you are reading a signature, and it has your name on it.